My name is Reese Carter. I am 31 years old. I have been a flight attendant for 7 years. In those 7 years, I have smiled through turbulence, calmed crying babies at 35,000 feet, and served champagne to people celebrating things I will never know about. But nothing in 7 years prepared me for the moment I pulled back the first class curtain and saw my husband sitting there, holding another woman's hand. Let me tell you about the morning it happened. It started like every other workday. I woke up at 5 a.m., made coffee, ironed my uniform, pulled my hair back the way the airline preferred, neat, low, no loose strands. I had done this routine so many times it happened on autopilot. My husband, Cole, was still asleep when I left. I remember standing in the bedroom doorway for a moment, looking at him. The blanket pulled up to his shoulder, his phone face down on the nightstand, which I had noticed more lately but never questioned. I kissed his forehead. He stirred slightly. "Early shift?" he murmured. "Yeah," I said. "Sleep." He did. I drove to the airport in the dark, radio on low, thinking about nothing in particular. Cole and I had been married for 4 years. We met when I was 27 and he was 30. He worked in finance, the kind of job that meant early mornings and late nights and occasional work trips that he described in one-sentence summaries. Conference in Boston, back Thursday. Client dinner, don't wait up. I never questioned it. That was the honest truth. Not because I was naive, because I trusted him. Because in 4 years, he had never given me a real reason not to. I was away often. That was the nature of my job. 2 days here, 3 days there. I knew what it meant to come home, tired, and just need quiet. I extended him the same grace I hoped he extended me. Looking back, I think that grace was the thing he relied on most. That morning at the airport, my supervisor found me in the crew lounge 30 minutes before departure. "Reese, I need to move you." I looked up from my coffee. "Move me?" "Crew shortage on LH7, London flight. I need an experienced attendant on that cabin." London. I had flown to London twice before, both times on short notice, both times fine. I nodded and picked up my bag. "Briefing in 10, she said. I didn't think anything of it. I had no reason to. The plane was a wide-body aircraft, 3 cabins, economy, business, first class. I was assigned to first class, 8 seats. Quiet. The kind of passengers who ordered specific wines and asked about flight times in a tone that expected precision. I boarded through the crew entrance, stowed my bag, reviewed the passenger manifest quickly, the way we always did. The names meant nothing to me. I completed my pre-boarding checks, adjusted the headrests, arranged the welcome cards on each seat, everything by routine. Passengers began boarding. I stood at the entrance to the first-class cabin, greeting each person as they arrived. A business executive, an older couple. A woman traveling alone with an enormous carry-on that barely fit in the overhead bin. I helped her with the bag, smiled, moved on. Then the curtain shifted and 2 more passengers entered. I turned to greet them, and the smile froze on my face. Cole was wearing the blue shirt I had ironed for him last week. I noticed that first, which is a strange thing to notice, but that's where my eyes went. To the shirt. The small wrinkle near the left cuff that I hadn't quite gotten out. Proof that the man standing in front of me was real, not imagined. The woman beside him was tall, dark hair, red lipstick. She was pulling a small carry-on with one hand and holding Cole's arm with the other. The easy, familiar grip of someone who had held that arm many times before. Cole saw me in the same second I saw him. What happened to his face is something I will never fully be able to describe. It collapsed. That's the closest word. Not with guilt, be with something beyond guilt. The specific expression of a person who has just understood that there is no version of this moment that goes well for them. The woman, I would later learn her name was Jade, hadn't noticed anything yet. She was looking down at her boarding pass, checking the seat number. I had approximately 2 seconds before she looked up. I used them to breathe. Then I smiled. "Good morning," I said. "Welcome aboard. Seats 2A and 2B, just on your right." My voice was steady. I don't know how. Cole walked past me without speaking. His shoulder passed close enough that I could smell his cologne, the one I had given him for his birthday 6 months ago. Jade smiled at me as she passed. "Thank you." "Of course," I said. "Let me know if you need anything." I turned back to the curtain. Behind me, I heard them settling into their seats, Jade saying something about the legroom, Cole saying nothing. I went into the galley and stood at the counter and looked at the wall for exactly 30 seconds. Then I picked up the service checklist and started working. The flight was 6 hours and 40 minutes. I worked every minute of it. Pre-departure drinks. I brought Jade a mimosa she ordered without looking at the menu, which told me she had flown first class enough times to know what she wanted. I placed it on her tray without making eye contact with Cole. He had ordered nothing. "Sir," I said, addressing him the way I addressed every passenger. "Can I get you something before we take off?" He looked at me. I looked back at him with the same professional calm I had spent 7 years developing. "Water," he said. His voice was barely there. "Of course!" Jade looked between us for a moment. I could feel her trying to play something, a familiarity in the exchange she couldn't identify. I brought his water and moved on. We took off. The seatbelt signs went off 40 minutes into the flight. I began the first meal service. In first class, we served each passenger individually. Plated meals, proper cutlery, the kind of service that justified the ticket price. I moved through the cabin systematically, starting from the front. By the time I reached seats 2A and 2B, Jade was relaxed. She had taken off her heels and was scrolling through the entertainment system. Cole was staring out the window at the clouds. "Good morning again," I said. "We have salmon or beef today." Jade chose salmon without hesitating. "My boyfriend always gets the beef," she said lightly, glancing at Cole. "The beef," Cole said quietly, still looking at the window. I wrote it down. "Is this your first time flying with us?" I asked Jade. She smiled. "No, we fly this route every few months, actually." Every few months. I kept my face completely neutral. "Wonderful," I said. "I hope it's always been a good experience." I moved on to the next seat. 2 hours into the flight, I was in the galley preparing the second service when I heard footsteps behind me. I knew before I turned around. "Reese." Cole's voice. "Low. Careful." I continued arranging the tray in front of me. "Sir," I said, "passengers aren't permitted in the crew galley. I'll need to ask you to return to your seat." "Please." "Sir." "Reese, please just look at me." I set down what I was holding, turned around. He looked terrible, pale. His eyes had the specific redness of someone who had not slept well and was now understanding why. "I can explain." "There's nothing to explain in the galley of a commercial aircraft at 35,000 feet, I said. My voice was very quiet, very calm. "Please return to your seat. I'll be continuing service in 10 minutes. He stood there for a moment longer. Then he went back. I turned around, pressed my hand flat against the counter, counted to 10. Then I finished preparing the tray. The rest of the flight passed the way difficult things sometimes pass, slowly and then all at once. Jade had fallen asleep by hour 4, her seat reclined, a all blanket pulled over her shoulders. Cole sat awake beside her the entire time, not watching anything on the screen, not eating the rest of his meal. I served the cabin, I refreshed drinks, I collected trays. I smiled at every passenger who made eye contact. When we began our descent into London, I made the standard cabin announcements. Returned seats to upright positions, tray tables stowed, electronic devices on airplane mode. My voice was steady the entire time. I was proud of that. We landed just after noon local time. Passengers gathered their bags, stretched, moved toward the exit in the unhurried way of people who had nowhere urgent to be. I stood near the door and thanked each person as they left. Jade stopped in front of me. "Thank you," she said. "Lovely flight." "Thank you for flying with us," I said. She moved through the door. Cole was behind her. He stopped. We were face to face for the first time without the professional distance of service between us. He opened his mouth. "Have a pleasant stay," I said. He closed it, walked out. When the last passenger was gone and the cabin doors closed, I sat down in one of the crew seats and looked at the empty first-class cabin. 8 seats, all of them vacant now. I sat there for 4 minutes. I know because I watched the clock on the wall. Then I took out my phone. I had one text from Cole, sent 12 minutes ago. "Please let me explain." I didn't reply. Instead, I opened my contacts and scrolled to a name I had saved 18 months ago. A lawyer my colleague Dana had recommended after her own divorce. I had saved the number without ever planning to use it. I called. She answered on the 3rd ring. "My name is Reese Carter," I said. "I need to start divorce proceedings. Today, if possible." A brief pause. "Of course," she said. "Can you tell me what happened?" I looked out the small, oval window at the gray London sky. "I just served champagne to my husband and the woman he's been taking to London every few months," I said, "while wearing my uniform at 35,000 feet. A longer pause. "I can have paperwork ready by the time you land back in Lagos," she said. "Thank you," I said. I hung up. Outside, London was doing what London does in April. Gray sky, faint drizzle, the city carrying on. I had 6 hours before the return flight. I ordered room service, took a long shower, slept for 3 hours. When I woke up, I had 22 missed calls from Cole and 1 message from Jade's Instagram account, which I had found without trying because she had tagged the airline in a post from the flight. In the background of one photo, slightly out of focus, a flight attendant in a Navy uniform was visible, me serving them. I looked at the photo for a long time, then I screenshotted it, sent it to my lawyer with 1 line. "Evidence of the relationship and the timeline. Please note the date." My lawyer replied within minutes. "Perfect, this helps." I put my phone down and got ready for my return flight. Cole was not at the apartment when I got back. He had been there, I could tell. A glass in the sink, his overnight bag gone from the closet, the blue shirt hanging on the back of the bathroom door as if he had left it deliberately or in a hurry and hadn't decided which. I took it down, folded it, put it in the donation bag I kept by the door. Then I sat on the couch in the quiet apartment and let the week settle around me. The divorce took 4 months. Cole contested very little. I think he understood, somewhere beneath whatever story he had been telling himself, that there wasn't a version of events that made what he had done defensible. The lawyer was efficient. The settlement was fair. I kept the apartment. He took most of what was in it, which suited me fine. I preferred the empty space to the accumulated evidence of a life that had been partly fiction. 8 months after that London flight, I was in the crew lounge at the airport when my supervisor called me into her office. I assumed it was a scheduling matter. She slid a folder across the desk. "You've been selected for senior cabin crew manager," she said. "The promotion is effective next month." I looked at the folder. "You've earned this," she said. "Your performance over the last year has been exceptional, particularly your composure in difficult situations." I almost laughed. "Thank you," I said instead. That evening, I sat on the balcony of my apartment, the one I had kept, the one that was fully mine now, and looked at the city lights. My phone was on the table beside me. Cole had stopped calling 3 months ago. I hadn't missed the calls. What I had missed, for a while, was the version of my life I thought I had. The Sunday mornings, the inside jokes, the ordinary comfort of a person who knew your routines. But I had learned something in the months since London. The ordinary comfort I missed had never been entirely real. It had been built on a version of Cole that didn't fully exist, and you can't miss something that was never entirely there, not the way you miss real things. You just let it go, and you move forward. This morning, I boarded a flight to New York, my first transatlantic route. I stood at the aircraft door in my new uniform, the one that comes with the senior crew manager role, slightly different from the old one, small changes that matter. A family boarded a businessman, an older woman who told me she hadn't flown in 11 years and was nervous. I walked her to her seat, showed her the entertainment system, got her a glass of water before she asked. "Thank you," she said. "You're very kind." "That's what we're here for," I said. And I meant it. I have been a flight attendant for 7 years. In those 7 years, I have learned that what happens at 35,000 feet stays there only if you let it. And some things, some truths, you carry with you when you land, not as weight, as proof. Proof that you were there, that you saw clearly, that you stayed professional when everything in you wanted to do otherwise, and that when you walked off that plane, you walked forward, not back. If this story stayed with you, if you've ever had to hold yourself together in a moment when everything was falling apart, leave me a comment. I want to hear it. Like this video if Reese's story deserved to be told. Subscribe if you want to be here for the next one. And share this with someone who needs to hear it today. Some people show you who they are at 35,000 feet. Let them. Then land somewhere better.